There are many ways to suffer, and I like to look at trends, common ways in which people unnecessarily suffer, to see if I can help untangle that and help share ideas that can lead to a more enjoyable life. And today I wanted to talk about 3 forms of suffering that I feel are unnecessary, and they are in the realms of work, friendships, and romance. And they all have the underlying theme of not moving forward, reaching a certain stage in which you just work with what you have, so to speak. You either literally work with what you have at work, or you stop growing in terms of friendships, or you stay stuck in unfulfilling romantic situations. So with work, I think that the common theme throughout these is really low self-esteem and repeating cycles that were role modeled for you. So if you grew up in situations where people just kind of became stuck at a certain point in their life and they never moved beyond that, and you thought that's all there was, then you're more likely to repeat that unless you become consciously aware of it. And if you don't see yourself as here to achieve fulfillment of your purpose and your deeper happiness and peace and so forth, that also contributes to just staying stuck where you are. So when it comes to the work that you do, it could be that you've convinced yourself you are a victim of limited circumstances because of what's available to you, your education, you know, the economy, the government, whatever you want to blame. And I feel that if people continue to look and believe that they deserve better, and perhaps, you know, re-educate themselves if that's necessary, or retrain themselves in some way that leads to doing what they want, they can get to that place. The greatest barrier to getting to where you want to be with work that you don't dread is believing that you should never give up. That if you want to work for someone else, continue looking at what's available. If you want to work for yourself, learn about that. See what you have to offer. See what people want. And empower yourself to do that. If you just have this ongoing feeling of dread every Sunday night, then Monday's coming around and you don't really want to get out of bed to do your work, that's your body telling you that you're not doing what you're here to do. It's not normal as we write it off. It is a feedback system with your feelings that says something needs to change. So continue to look for other ways of supporting yourself that actually feel rewarding. Don't be afraid to fail. Don't be afraid to try something. Start your own business and maybe screw up royally, but learn from it and then try again. Continue to move forward. It's only when people give up that they become permanently dissatisfied and bitter, and then turn to various addictions or distractions to try to cope with life and kind of get through it, wait for retirement or whatever, instead of thriving and having an enjoyable life. And in the realm of friendships, community, I also include family members. I don't think it's really important if you're genetically related to somebody or not, so much as how do they treat you. If you find yourself in a situation where you don't feel rewarded, expand. Again, keep trying. If you have a bunch of people in your life that aren't available or unfulfilling, they avoid each other, they say, oh, we should get together, and, you know, just kind of go through acting out unrewarding, unfulfilling family type dynamics where there's not a real excitement for each other, then keep looking for people that excite you and are excited by you, that look forward and enjoy you, and vice versa. And I was mentioning family. I think that a lot of times if we don't deal directly with family and we just kind of tiptoe around who we are and hope that we can get through life by avoiding being known and that kind of thing, that gets played out with community and friendships as well. And so by just being known, being bold and courageous enough to say, this is who I am with family, that can also open the door for more fulfilling friendships. And knowing who you are and continuing to discover who you are is a big part of finding out what kind of people you want to be around in your life. And so if you have relationships that are still fulfilling to you, then nourish them. It's great to have long-term relationships. But if you feel like you're trying to squeeze water from stones, so to speak, in terms of the emotional nourishment and reciprocity that you more deeply desire, don't lie to yourself. Continue to look and grow. We're in a more interconnected world than ever before. And in all three of these themes of work, friends, and romance, I was reflecting on where does this come from, this limitation, this getting to a place for people to stop and try to be content with what their current situation is and continuing, instead of continuing to evolve. And I think that historically people had very limited communities, very limited resources around them, and so it became kind of an ingrained human pattern to make what your environment was work for you as best you could. If you're stuck in a little village, a little remote area in the world and so forth, it might not have a lot of options back in the day, but now we're very interconnected and the world is becoming a global village. You can move, you can meet people through the web. There's always room for expansion if you don't just give up and say, well, my job sucks, my friendships aren't rewarding, I'm stuck. Now, in the last realm of romance, I have been polyamorous for a while, and polyamory, you can see my book Spiritual Polyamory if you want to know what that's about. But whether you are polyamorous, which is about opening up to eternal expansion, eternal growth, and letting love shift and so forth, if you're of that mindset, or if you are monogamous, you can either way always be honestly reassessing your relationships that are romantic, because a lot of times people make either lifetime agreements or lifetime assumptions when they're still in a honeymoon phase, you know, the first few years or whatever, in which this person is going to be seen as the answer to all of your loneliness and so forth. So if you are ready to honestly live a life of fulfillment, that means honestly looking at your romantic situation or situations and asking yourself, is this fulfilling or am I just settling? Can it go deeper? Can the problems be resolved? Or is this just a limitation because of the different ways in which we've grown since we first met each other? Are we congruent? Do we have similar values? Are we nourishing each other? Or are we holding each other back? Are we falling into petty games? Are we looking to other aspects of life or distractions or addictions to find some kind of fulfillment that isn't coming from love? Looking at it honestly. There's no great honor in some kind of quantitative analysis of a relationship. A relationship, you know, on its deeper level is about lessons and growth and mutual support and so forth. There's a superficial element to relationships in our world in which people think, oh, they've been together 50 years, let's applaud or whatever. And I think of like my grandmother and grandfather, who I don't think I ever saw a tender moment between them. A lot of bickering, lots of bitterness. My grandfather was kind of a workaholic-oriented kind of person. My grandmother turned to food and became obese, and it was just a really, really kind of unsatisfying relationship. And it was clear to me as a child that I didn't want that in my life. And yet there are people who just say, oh, you know, so-and-so, they're just celebrating their, you know, 30-year anniversary or whatever. Isn't that great? And it's like, come on, wake up. Is it great? I mean, maybe it is. Maybe they've deepened. Maybe there's a strong bond there. But maybe they're just going through the motions. Maybe they're having affairs. Maybe they are creating energy with other people behind each other's backs. They have secrets. There's suppressed feelings between them. There's bitterness or resentment. There could be all kinds of things that in long-term relationships are not healthy. So the quantity is nothing at all. It means nothing compared to the quality of a relationship. So always be willing to reassess your life in all areas and say, is my body, my feelings, are they telling me that change is required? You can be content with life as it is to a point, but if you're not really satisfied, it's always going to gnaw at you in any of these areas of life. You're always going to feel uncomfortable until you make the changes that move you towards the kind of life that you came here to live. Thanks for listening.